All immersions are adjourned until the following day at sunrise, when the water is at its coldest. Ritual exorcism is common to all religions. Ethiopia is the meeting point and melting pot of such various and dramatically opposing world religions as Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and animism. Little wonder, then, that the country's witch doctors and conjurers should use some of the most extravagantly odd combinations of medicines and procedures. This magic talcum, for instance, is almost certainly of Islamic origin. The practice of sniffing a person's body in search of demons who have entered through natural orifices is undoubtedly animistic. Once the evil spirit is definitely localized, the sorceress concentrates all of her energies to provoke its expulsion. If she wins the battle, the devil will be forced to escape through the only remaining bodily orifice. What can be done for a migraine headache? In a small hut near the banks of the Umbangi Share, there lives a witch doctor of great renown. Thanks to some unknown power, he is able to draw the insufferable pain down from the head through the arms until it reaches the fingertips. He accompanies his soothing massage with puffs of air, a universal symbol of life and therefore a source of health. If the demon, which by now has been driven into the little finger of the patient's hand, continues to be a source of torment, the doctor is forced to take more severe measures. A few precise karate chops on the elbow anesthetizes the patient's arm. The stone used as a miniature chopping block is rough and irregular. The doctor's assistant must help him find a perfectly balanced spot along one of its crevices. With the amputation of the little finger's upper phalanx, the headache is neutralized. In many primitive therapies, superhuman resistance to pain is a prerequisite to being cured. Prior to submitting themselves to therapeutic flogging, the Puls numb their body with massaging and by snuffing or chewing hashish, betel leaves, or the kolo nut. The younger members of the community spend most of the year in the fields with their grazing herds, forced to live far from their women. When they return for the Sharo ritual, they come dressed as females, and their comportment suggests homosexuality. We were unable to learn whether this transformation constitutes true homosexual practice or is just a symbolic tradition denoting their indifference to women after such long habitation with members of their own sex. Be it true or not, all of them invariably take wives once the ritual is over. Many long-lost pagan rituals have been absorbed and continued by Christianity. The devout Christian, who indulges in self-flagellation, wants to express contrition for his weaknesses and for worldly pleasures by mortifying the flesh. The tattoos of the penitent Filipinos have the same sacrificial significance as the scarring tribal markings of many Africans. Self-flagellation, while reenacting Christ's carrying of the cross, is typical of those religions which seek repentance through pain. The Hindus of Ceylon, or Sri Lanka as it is called today, who ask their gods forgiveness, do so by lying on beds of nails. Their god is called Kataragama. To obtain his favors, personal or for the entire community, the faithful must prostrate themselves on that bed. And yet a devout Hindu is oblivious to the pain. It's mind over matter. Much like the self-control practiced by the famous Indian fakers, their willpower governs the senses and all of their life functions. This victory of spirit over flesh, however, requires years of practice, of study, and of true devotion. Fire is perhaps the first and foremost element of primitive rituals. It was even so in the primordial rituals of the Sabines, who danced through the flames in honor of their god Feronia. And it is now, in the licking flames of a fire, that this fetishist witch doctor envisions the children who will perish within the year. "8 a.m., study of the Quran. The severe-looking Marabu keeps sharp vigil that students follow and obey the tenets of the Islamic faith. There is at least one Marabu for every 200 Muslims. The Islamic faith now has 40 million followers in Black Africa. What other major religion can boast of so many deacons to watch over their flock?
مثلها في البلاد وثمود الذين مش قاعد يقول جابوا صخرة في الوادي
Using water, paste, and charcoal, the Marabu teaches his students to write passages from the Quran on wooden slates. The Marabu is no ordinary teacher. He is a mixture of healer, soothsayer, and conjurer. The mystic approach of the Marabu never departs from the basic teachings of the Quran. It is imperative that those who seek his healing powers be devout, true believers. The verses from the Quran, which the Marabu has written, will be washed away by the patient with water contained in a bowl he carries with him. Later, the same water will be devoutly sipped. There are also women Marabu. Many of them have their own quarters where patients come for treatment. A potion of ink and water containing fragments of paper with verses from the Quran is believed to be magical in getting a sterile woman with child. According to McLuhan, the fragments of the Quran, that is the medium, becomes the message, or in this case, the restoring power of fertility. The woman Marabu personally tends each patient, ready to use her magic fluid, the influence of her magical powers. Suspicious mothers occasionally bring their daughters to the Marabu in order to confirm their virginity. The checkup, which is performed with the aid of a short, spiral-tipped metal rod, is quite simple. What invariably proves to be more difficult is convincing the young girl to allow herself to be examined. Both mother and Marabu remind the girl that her Muslim faith considers premarital virginity a blessed state. But if religion proves to be of no avail, they try convincing her by shaming her into it. What will everyone think when your husband leaves you after the first night? And what if his mother cannot show your matrimonial sheet stained with your virginal blood? In vain, the girl insists on her purity. She swears that she has known no other body but her own, and that she has always obeyed the laws of the Quran. Tearful and anguished, she recites the nocturnal journey, the surah, which warns all Muslims of the deadly risks of lust and fornication. The examination is positive. The girl's honor is intact. This physical confirmation of a spiritual attribute is joyfully greeted by all, and the girl is embraced and congratulated. That is why the phallus is venerated by many cults, and phallic symbols of wood, stone, and other materials give work to numerous artisans. The roadsides of Dahomey, Togo, and Nigeria are dotted with altars that exalt the phallus. Many sacrificial rites, which require the profuse flowing of blood, are given up to Legba, the god of fertility. Only through these sacrifices will the courage, vitality, and cunning, symbolized by the spirit of the phallus, penetrate those who invoke Legba's help. The Legba rituals are public ceremonies attended by one and all, even by uninitiated children who have yet to be circumcised. What is hidden from children in civilized societies is here dictated by religion. By making sex so obvious, they have perhaps managed to conceal it even more effectively. Heaven help the child who turns from the spectacle. He is immediately captured and brought back to the ceremonial circle, where he is subjected to a symbolic ritual sodomy. This way, he is taught never to flee from sex. Only those who hide their neurosis through moral hypocrisy will be distressed. Sex must be accepted as a part of life, to be practiced openly, without fears or prejudice. This, in short, is what the Legba ritual teaches. When twins are born, it is considered an extraordinary event, and it is celebrated accordingly. The natives improvise dances around the hut where the twins were born, but only after 2 months have gone by and the newborn are declared healthy and without physical defects. But the mother is not the recipient of all these festivities. All the honor for generating twins goes to the father, the male. Bursting with pride, the father emits a wild shout of joy. Dua! Dua! He flaunts his genitals before those who come to congratulate him and to see his twins with their own eyes. The whole day passes with a continuous coming and going of well-wishers who touch and caress him as if he were a good luck charm. As in all primitive cultures, fecundity is still, despite a world afflicted with demographic problems, considered the greatest gift of God and cause for rejoicing. A small community of fetishist women, much like tribal priestesses, are the guardians of fertility. These women never go beyond the walls of the convent, and the villagers see to it that they are well fed and cared for. These convents are regular social institutions with the precise function of promoting and protecting fertility. No one can come near the inner courtyards, considered sacred grounds, where the novices are taught ritualistic dances. The novices must pay homage to the head curator of the convent, both at the beginning and at the end of their preparatory rituals. Only after due respect has been paid can they return with heads bowed in sign of submission to the cells assigned them during the initiation period. There they will spend time in prayer and profound meditation. The consecration of virgins to the phallus in these fetishist convents is an ancient practice laden with symbolism and magic. Although the sexual act is an indispensable part of these ceremonies, it is only the beginning of a long and complicated procedure in which the spirit of fertility is shared with the whole community. Only after sacrificial blood has become part of the ritual is the consecration of the phallus considered definitive, and the participants magically united by the bond of fertility.